are some intangibles that those projections failed to take into consideration.
The crowd was going crazy. There's not much in life that's better than that.
You're listening to Garlic Fries and Baseball Guys on the 95.7 The Game Podcast Network.
Hello there. Welcome into the Garlic Fries and Baseball Guys podcast. Sam Lubman coming at you, going solo this week as Joe Shasky is still on assignment on Thursday, April 17th. Giants just wrapped up a 4-game series in Philadelphia. They were able to take the sweep against the Phillies. We'll dive into that in just a moment. This is episode 123 of the podcast. As in, coming into today, Luis Matos has started 123 games in the field, 128 games total in his career. So he's got 5 instances of being a pinch hitter and not taking the field. So yeah, getting a little too specific here with some of these factoids today, but he was your leadoff hitter today. Jung-Hoo Lee getting a rare day off today. I think he deserves it considering the work that he has been putting in. Luis Matos, unfortunately not the greatest day at the plate, 0 for 4 with a walk. Did have a hard hit into the center field wall, the same wall that Aaron Rowan once smashed his face into back in 2006. There's your memory of the day for you. On an Alec Boehm triple in the bottom of the first inning. Very rough bottom of the first inning for today's starter, Jordan Hicks. Gives up 5 runs in that inning. Was very wild, too. Had a couple of walks in that inning as well. Giants, in the end, though, fall 6-4 to the Phillies in the finale of the 4-game set. Still get the split, though, which I will absolutely take. And it's where I want to start things off here on the pod today. It's the statement road trip that the Giants are having through the Northeast this past week, starting off with taking 2 of 3 against the Yankees. Very, very good team. They were in the World Series last year. That's how good they were. Even though, last year they were a little bit better on the road than at home. The Yankees were 44-37 at home last year. And then the Giants go into Philadelphia, which is a notoriously difficult place to play. Last year, the Phillies went 54-27. They had not lost a series at home going back to last July. That was when they lost to the Cleveland Guardians and the New York Yankees in back-to-back sets. And they have not split a 4-game set at home since a series against the Marlins last June, a divisional opponent. Divisional opponents, I don't know, they're a little bit different. I don't know if that quite applies for the Marlins, but this is all to say that what the Giants have done here in this 13-6 start, it's been incredibly impressive for a team that expectations going into this season were, I think, muted at best. I don't think even the most optimistic Giants fan saw this team getting off to this good of a start through 19 games in the season. And again, starting the season off, I think I said this in the last episode, when you beating the Reds, taking 2 out of 3 from the Reds in the opening weekend in Cincinnati, that's nothing to shake a stick at. They swept the Astros and Mariners. We'll see how good those two teams are. They salvaged a big series against the Reds. But there was a lot of reason to look at those first 12 games of the season and be like, well, you know what? Who have you really played? And this was a road trip that was going to tell us a lot about this Giants team going in to take on 2 of the better teams in the league. And 7 games, they go 4-3 against the Yankees and Phillies on the road. That is a sign that this is a very, very good baseball team. Like, bad teams do not just go on the road and win series like this, or in the case here, split a series in Philadelphia against the Phillies here. So, and the way the Giants have been winning on this road trip, they've been doing it with the offense, which is pretty cool to see how this lineup just generates runs. And they don't get, when they do get down, you're not worried about them coming back. Even today, Giants go down 5-1 after the first inning, and you're thinking, you know what? Why not keep this comeback train going? And they almost did pull it off. After that 5-1 first inning, the Giants did, in a sense, outscore the Phillies the rest of the way, 3-2. So they did try to come back. That extra one run the Phillies got in the bottom of the 8th certainly loomed large there in that 9th inning. Tyler Fitzgerald, who is having just an incredible road trip right now. Let's take a couple minutes to talk about Fitzy, who came into today hitting .474 on this current road trip. And I guess last week he had a conversation with none other than Barry Bonds, who, we were calling Tyler Fitzgerald Barry Bonds for a couple weeks last year, even though he absolutely hated that comparison because he knows that that's not what it should be. But he had a conversation with Barry, and Barry kind of simplified it for him. Said, hey, instead of looking for launch angle, try hitting down on the ball and just use your natural strength. And apparently, it has absolutely paid off. And Fitz has been a big reason why the Giants have been getting some of the most production in baseball out of the 9-hole. I wrote this for the station, at the beginning of the year. My suggestion was that Lamont Wade Jr. should be in the 9-hole because my theory was that was a great way for the Giants to utilize Lamont Wade Jr.'s talents of getting on base while maximizing production from the 9 spot. Because as you see, I mentioned in that article, over the last 3 years, the teams that have gotten the most production out of the 9 spot have usually been some of the better teams in the league. It is a very good place to get some production, having a guy like that at the bottom of the lineup to help reset things at the top of the lineup. And Fitz has been doing an absolute phenomenal job at that. He did go 1 for 4, 3 strikeouts today, but again, did salvage things with that home run in the 9th inning, a booming shot to left field. So love seeing what we're seeing from Fitz on this road trip. Hopefully he can keep it going. There's still that outside pitch that he's having trouble laying off of. Hopefully he can do that more and more. The swing tip from Bonds really seems to be helping. But the key with Fitzgerald is just keeping him consistent in that lineup. And I think the Giants are doing a very good job of giving him a very long leash. And that's kind of one of the differences you're seeing with this team early on is, they haven't made any transactions this year. There has not been any roster churn. Almost a little too much so in a sense, the lack of roster churn, and that the Giants might need an extra arm right now to finish out this current stretch. They're playing 17 games without an off day. It's Thursday the 17th right now. They do not get another off day until another week and a half. So they got this series in Anaheim against the Angels, and then they, return home, 4 against the Brewers, 3 against Bruce Bochy and the Rangers. And then that Sunday right before heading down to San Diego, and it's a travel day, the one off day they have, of course. So it's a bit of a grind there. So maybe they would need an extra arm. Dave Fleming was on the morning roast this morning. He said that would be a good move if the Giants had a move to make. No one's hurt. No one's really underperforming so much. So, and which gets me to my point of the lack of roster churn is a resemblance of the amount of trust that you're seeing this front office and this coaching staff have in these players. And they're giving Tyler Fitzgerald a chance to hit through slumps. He doesn't have to worry about striking out and looking over his shoulder for someone else to come in and replace him. He doesn't have to worry about going 2 for 2 and then looking over his shoulder, looking for someone to replace him. This is just, it goes into the vibe and the new feelings that we're seeing around this team. I was talking to Mike Yastrzemski opening weekend. What's different about this team? We just have a different, better way of doing things this year. Mike Krukow was on one of the other radio stations earlier this week. He talked about how, an unnamed player, he wouldn't give the name, was running off the field all smiles. And Krukow said, hey, why are you smiling? And Krukow and the player responded, because we're allowed to be baseball players again. It's a lot of that is what you're hearing. And I think on this road trip, you're seeing the effects of what a front office empowering its players can have on the roster. It's why I think these guys are playing so well right now. They are relaxed and they're taking a baseball approach to things. And, some of the highlights from this road trip, obviously the biggest one has to be Jung-Hoo Lee, the star power, the rising star power of Jung-Hoo Lee. He is going to get noticed more and more often. And it's only a matter of time before the league tries to start figuring him out. But we are, 19 games in the season, not even, we're about halfway through April, and already Jung-Hoo Lee looks like the leading candidate to be one of the Giants all-stars. At the end of this month, I'm going to do my all-star power rankings, and where I kind of rank where all the Giants are in terms of their all-star candidacy. And, for those who don't remember, I put it into 5 categories. You got your everybody gets one, because that is how Major League Baseball works. You got your locks, you got your guys who should be in, you got your guys who might be in, and your guys on the bubble. Jung-Hoo Lee looks like he is going to be either the everybody gets one, which I think the Giants will have more than one all-star this year, or at minimum, I think he's going to be a lock right now to be an all-star, right? Like that's just how much his star power is rising. That's just how well he has been playing in the early go of the season. He did come in the top of the 9th inning, was able to get on base, and with a pretty nice single up the middle off the pitcher's mound, actually. So he got a little bit lucky there. And for a moment, you got a runner on first, 2 outs in the 9th inning in Philadelphia. And you're thinking, oh, the Giants might got a little bit of bingo going here. That's not what happened. The game ended right after that when Christian Koss came in and ground ball to second. There she did it. But the point remains is that this road trip, when you go into Yankee Stadium and hit 3 home runs in a weekend, people are going to notice. When you're a big reason why your team is taking 2 of 4 from Philadelphia, in Philadelphia, a team that, as unbuttoned up as the Phillies look, that's still a very, very good baseball team. Like, I still expect to see the Phillies in the playoffs this year. And for Jung Hoo Lee to perform like he has this week, like, teams around the country are going to take notice. And you're starting to notice, the baseball MLB social media accounts are starting to highlight him. He's going to be talked about more on MLB Network. Like, the attention around Jung Hoo Lee is going to start to skyrocket here. And it's just been incredibly fun to watch. Also incredibly fun to watch is still Wilmer Flores. Through coming into today, he did get the day off today, came in as a pinch hitter, and just, didn't do anything. But through 18 games to start the year, 23 RBIs, he has never had a start like this. He's never had a span like this. He's never driven in 23 runs in an 18-game span ever in his life. Shout out Stathead. I love just, messing around on that website there. Will Wilmer Flores continue to be the hero that, the Giants need and deserve all year long? I don't know if he'll do it at this clip. I don't think that Wilmer Flores is going to lead the National League in RBIs and runs. And it's very possible that this Wilmer Flores that we're seeing here could fade out come May. But for right now, he is everything the Giants need. He has been a dependable, consistent presence in that DH role. And as long as he can still keep doing that, you have every reason to believe that this team could. I thought this team would struggle to get around 81 wins. Wilmer Flores right now is one of the reasons why you could start looking at 90-plus wins for this season. How long that holds up remains to be seen, but for right now, you got to love what we're seeing from Wilmer Flores. Another thing we're liking about this Giants team, especially on this road trip, is how they're beating 500 teams above 500. They are 10-6 now against teams above 500 so far on this young season. They were 46-59 against teams with a 500 record last year. So again, small sample size, but these are the improvements that you're seeing year to year that really showcase why this year's Giants team is so good and so worth believing in. And also, you just shout out to the offense for the way they've been able to be coming back on this road trip. Down 3-0 versus the Yankees on Sunday with Logan Webb on the mound against Carlos Rodon. Giants kept charging back, thanks in part to Jung Hoo Lee. Monday, down 3-0 to the Phillies. Come back with 6 in the second. End up winning that game 10-4. And then yesterday, Phillies tied it at 4. So it's Giants are up 4-2. Philly ties it 4-4. And what do the Giants do? They just drop 7 runs over the next 3 innings, scoring 1 in the 5th, 2 in the 6th, and then 4 in the 7th. This is an offense that is not afraid to make noise. This is an offense that you can count on to respond to opposing teams when they score. And that's a big deal because, if a team like the Phillies goes out, plates a couple runs, that's a lot of work for the Giants starting pitching. We'll get to the starters in just a moment. But when your offense is able to come back out and prevent the other team from having that shutdown inning, it gives your starting pitcher time to rest on the bench, get back out there. And you kind of saw that this week where, Landon Roop gets kind of knocked around that first inning, gives up 3 runs to the Phillies. Giants score 5 in the next inning, kind of give him a reset button there. And Roop's chilling the next 4 innings and was able to, get through an impressive 5-inning start. It's stuff like that from the offense that's just, again, more and more statements on why this team is for real. I know a lot of, hoopla is being made about the start of Willy Adames so far this season. Adames was the DH today, went 0 for 4 with a couple strikeouts, dropped his batting average back under 200, now hitting 195 on this season. Did get his first home run earlier this week in Philadelphia. And I'll be honest, I am not quite ready to have any sort of Willy Adames conversation yet. I know this is going to be a topic of conversation a lot right now until he gets things going. This is easily the worst start to a season that he's had. I think this is the worst OPS he has had through 18, now 19 games in his career. And I think it's Just be honest. My guess it's the contract. The contract is weighing on him. He's pressing. We've seen this happen with hitters so many times before. But I think it's affecting how Giants fans are going to look at Willy Adames. When you give a guy the most expensive contract in franchise history, $182 million, greater than $159 million that Buster Posey once got, that's going to create a level of expectations. And this is going to be a kind of a crazy take here, but I do think Giants fans need to kind of reassess how they're going to view Willy Adames and this contract. Now, because $182 million might be a lot for a Giant. It's the most ever for a Giant, as I just said, but not for a current shortstop in the current market. Because when you look at the other shortstops around the league, Adames' contract is actually the 7th highest. And if you're one of those people who likes to use contracts as a way to determine who the better players are, I mean, Adames is kind of the 7th best shortstop in baseball. I think I would go along with that. Carlos Correa is really good, among others. Gunnar Henderson, who else is up there? Bobby Witt Jr., another great shortstop. There's a lot of really good shortstops in Major League Baseball right now. And I don't think it's insulting to Willy Adames to say that he's not in the top 5 of those shortstops. Buster Posey's deal was $159 million, and they gave that deal to him with the expectation that you're the homegrown face of the franchise who's already brought championships here. Like, Buster Posey was given that contract not just to be the leader of the team, but they wanted to enshrine him in this organization, in a sense, forever. In the same way, they wanted him to be the pillar of the lineup that Willie Mays once was, that Willie McCovey once was, Will Clark, Jack Clark, Barry Bonds. Buster Posey was the next person in that line. I don't think Willy Adames is ever going to be that guy. Now, I think he'll have a very good career with the Giants. I'm sure he'll have a couple of all-star appearances, and he will be a lot better than this start is suggesting. But Buster was essentially tabbed to be one of the greatest Giants ever, whereas Willy Adames is being asked to lead this current Giants team out of one era, the Farhan Zaidi era, and into this new era, the Bob Melvin, Buster Posey era. Now, so I just, to kind of sum this all up, like, I know the expectation is going to be high for Willy Adames, but if you're going into this season expecting Adames to be one of the best shortstops in baseball, I just don't know if that's the best thing to be doing in terms of expectations. He'll have a good career. I just don't think he's going to have the kind of legendary career that, you would expect from a guy making more money than any Giant in history. And my guess is in the next few years, someone on the Giants will come along and ink a deal that will be far more lucrative than the one that Willy Adames is having right now. And yes, I am hoping that that's going to be Bryce Eldridge when that day does come. So again, I'm not worried about Willy Adames right now. He's got a consistent enough career over the last 3 years heading into the contract. Last 3 years, 21, 22, 23, heading into his contract year last year. There's a lot of consistency. He hit 238 on base at 314, slugging at 448, 21 through 23. Then he had the career year last year, hit 251, 331 on base, 462, slugging, a 794 OPS, slightly above the averages that he was putting up in the 3 years prior to that. So this is all to say that last year was not just some one-year anomaly for Willy Adames. This is not a guy who had an out-of-nowhere career year and then profited off of it. There was some buildup into that season that would suggest that his career is still on the ascent. So, again, we're 19 games into the season. Any Willy Adames conversation, I mean, he's going to be here for the next 7 years. So if you want to have the Willy Adames conversation now, that's fine. I just think it's far too early to start throwing any sort of conversations like that out there. A guy who is not kind of hitting well and was, we had our first lineup change this past week, and that has been Lamont Wade Jr., who is just not at all looking like the Lamont Wade Jr. so far that Giants fans are accustomed to. I mean, this is a guy who had a 361 on-base percentage over the last 3 years, which is the 17th best in baseball at the time, right there with Kyle Tucker. So as good of a baseball player as Kyle Tucker is, Lamont Wade Jr. and Tucker are the same at getting on base, which is a long-winded way of saying Lamont Wade Jr. last 3 years, no secret, very good at getting on base. in part because of that 14% walk rate, which is the 5th best in baseball during that time. This year, though, he's got an on-base percentage of 224, far below this pace that he has been setting for the last 3 years. What's really concerning, though, with LaMonte Wade Jr. is the walk rate's down a little bit, 11%, and a 33% strikeout rate so far this season. He had a 20% strikeout rate over the last 3 years. So he's walking less, he's striking out more. He's not hitting the ball as hard this year. The hard hit and bail rates are down. The good news is he's not really chasing as much, but he's struggling to kind of make contact on certain pitches. He's not hitting the fastball as well. The breaking ball, he's having a harder time getting contact on that. Off-speed pitches, very much struggling there as well. It's a rough start to the season for LaMonte Wade Jr., and that's one where I think keeping him lower in the lineup might be a better move. I do like the idea of having Mike Yastrzemski be your leadoff hitter. I think Yaz just better suited for the role. He's a little bit faster. The contact rate's been a little bit better, which I think you want from your leadoff hitter. We saw Luis Matos get a shot at it today. Did not go very well. You'll probably see Elliot Ramos get more leadoff time when the Giants face lefties. So again, leadoff spot, it in flux a little bit early on. We'll keep an eye in terms of just how concerning that gets. But yeah, LaMonte Wade Jr. so far, it's been kind of rough. Hopefully he can start to turn this around, because we all know how good LaMonte Wade Jr. can be when he's able to get on base consistently. So got a few minutes left here. I think we'll go about 30 minutes today. I want to highlight the pitching here. And we had Dave Fleming join the morning roast earlier today. And he kind of talked about the state of the pitching here. And he said that for the most part, pitching's been underperforming.
Overall, I would say that the starting rotation has underperformed to this point. And that's, I guess you could really look at that as a serious positive. They're 13-5, where their starters just, other than Webb, and even Logan has been, I think, a little unhappy with the way his stuff has been over the start of the year. But Hicks has been inconsistent. Robbie Ray has been inconsistent. Landon Roop has showed really spectacular stuff, but hasn't gone deep into games consistently. And Verlander that you're talking about. So that, long term, we got 5.5 months still to go almost. That will have to get ironed out. They're going to need more from that group, more efficiency, more innings especially. But I'm not really overly concerned about it. I think in a way it's a positive that they're playing as well as they are without those guys being at their best.
And I do agree with Dave. Yeah, it is encouraging to see this team succeeding with the rotation kind of struggling as it has been. Just on this trip alone, though, it's been rough for the starting pitchers. Robbie Ray went 4 innings on Friday night in the pouring rain. Jordan Hicks battled the rain and the wind on Saturday, the rain and the cold on Saturday. He went only 4 innings. Logan Webb gutted through 5 innings on Sunday. Landon Roop had a pretty incredible start on Monday. He went only 5 innings as well. Justin Verlander, 5 2/3 on Tuesday, though probably should have been lifted after that Castellanos single. Bob Melvin decided to trust his starting pitcher, his future Hall of Fame starting pitcher, just a little bit more than maybe he should have. And as a result, that game on Tuesday got a little bit more off the rails, and the Giants were not able to come back and win that one. Looking back on these last 7 games, that is a game I'm looking at as feel like the Giants maybe could have kind of crawled back in on that one and maybe stolen that game. But again, Phillies are a good baseball team too, so that's going to be a factor. Robbie Ray yesterday, very wild in the first inning, was able to calm down though after that, made it through 3 innings. And, but again, 4 innings on yesterday, which made Jordan Hicks going 7 innings today really huge. Jordan Hicks roughed up in the first inning today, gave up a 5 spot in that first inning there while walking. How many guys did he walk here as we look it up? He walked Bryce Harper, and it's only the 1 walk there in that first inning. But again, guys are getting very hard contact on him. Bryce Stott, Trey Turner single to get the game going. Bryce Harper walks. And then you got the Kyle Schwarber single. Suddenly now it's 2-1. Castellanos single makes it 3-1. Get a couple of outs. Get a wild pitch that scores a run, and then the Alec Boehm triple to give the Phillies their 5th run of the game. And you're starting to wonder, is this going to be another short outing from the starting pitchers? And with the amount of run that the bullpen has been getting so far on this road trip, 16 and a third innings of work in the previous 6 games from the bullpen coming into today. For Hicks to be able to put in the work he did today, getting 7 innings, Eric Miller and Tyler Rogers were the only guys out of the bullpen that threw today. That cannot be understated enough, just how big that is, that Hicks was able to hold things together against this Phillies team after giving up 5 runs and holding on to those 5 runs. He was absolutely phenomenal in innings 2 through 7. Unfortunately, though, those 5 runs in the first still looming large. But it continues a trend where, these starting pitchers, it's been kind of rough so far here. Looking at Landon Roop's start on Monday, he gets roughed up in the first inning, gets tagged for 3 runs in the bottom of the first, gets much more settled in and confident after that, in part because the Giants spotted him 5 runs in the top of the second, kind of gave him a bit of a reset there. And then from then on out, Roop was phenomenal. The curveball was cooking. He got Trey Turner on 4 straight curveballs going low and away to get Turner to chase. Had a great sequence in the bottom of the 4th Monday night. Max Kepler got a single. Alec Boehm followed that up with a double. So you got second and third with no out. And rather than getting flustered and letting the moment get away from him, he goes sinker curveball to Johan Rojas and then fools him with the curve right after that, using one pitch to set up the other. The sinker, the curveball, what's going to come next? They both kind of look the same until that curveball starts to drop. You get a Bryson Stott fly out on a sinker inside, very much feeling that inside pitch after that first inning, after struggling to locate it in the first inning. And then he gets Trey Turner to ground out on a curveball. Trey Turner hit a booming extra base hit in the first inning against Roop on a pitch high and outside. It looks like it wasn't outside the strike zone, but high on the outside of the high and on the outside part of the strike zone. And so he goes with the curveball in that same location and is able to get a ground ball from Turner to end the inning. It's things like that that just show a more confident starting pitcher there. And that's what the Giants are going to need from Landon Roop, because again, it was very eye-opening when he got that final starting rotation spot over Hayden Birdsong. So to see Roop kind of struggle early on, but then bounce back and still get a strong start out of it, very encouraging to see. Justin Verlander is a little less encouraging. He's kind of had an issue where Verlander right now, he's kind of got one bad inning-itis right now. And one bad inning-itis, for those who do not know, it's a term that I kind of just made up possibly right now, where you pitch pretty well except for that one bad inning. Madison Bumgarner the last couple of years was a notorious one bad inning-itis guy. And that's kind of where Verlander is at going into Tuesday night start. He gave up 2 runs in the 3rd inning in the home opener against the Mariners, but he really kind of labored through that inning, labored through that day. It was warm. The opening ceremony went long. Then against the Reds in the 3rd inning, he gave up that 5 spot. Part of that was due to some poor defense in the field. And then he gave up a 2 spot against the Phillies in the 2nd on Tuesday, gave up another 2 spot in the 6th. Again, that was when Bob Melvin left Verlander in maybe a little too long. Verlander was, I think he threw 104 pitches, but I think that's a combination of you want to save your bullpen a little bit because of the long stretch this team is in right now, versus also you have a future Hall of Fame starting pitcher. So you're going to kind of trust him to get out of that situation. And I think that's a situation. Last year, the Giants probably would have lifted Justin Verlander after he gave up that base hit to Castellanos. This year, again, it's a little bit different. That's kind of the negative side of things being a little bit different, but I'm not going to shake a stick too much at it, though it is something to kind of keep an eye on. Like, you got to have the quick hook every now and then, Bob, when these pitchers start to struggle. Robbie Ray, also very concerning. He was very wild yesterday, especially in the first inning. Pitched around Bryce Harper, but was nowhere close on Kyle Schwarber. Threw a wild pitch to him, was missing inside to Nick Castellanos in the first inning, missed inside to JT Realmuto, also ending up in a walk in that first inning. He was able to get through the next 2 innings all right. He did give up a big home run to Bryce Harper in the 4th inning, which was kind of, the nail in the coffin for Robbie Ray's day. Goes 93 pitches in 4 innings. So another short start that, again, forced the bullpen to put in extra work. My concerns with Robbie Ray are basically built around the fact that the hard hit rate is up. The walk rate is huge right now. I believe it was 11% last year. It's at 17% this year. And hitters are chasing and missing less against him right now. He's got that new changeup this year, the Tariq Skubal changeup that he learned in the offseason. Hitters are 4 for 8 against it so far. And the 44 times he's thrown it, he has not thrown it to a left-handed hitter once. So the changeup, still a work in progress. Robbie Ray, still a work in progress. It all adds up to a rotation where you're getting great stuff out of Logan Webb. And then you kind of got 4 question marks right now. So again, it's early on. I still am confident in Robbie Ray to come around. Jordan Hicks, again, gutsy effort today. But with Hicks, it's just how long can he keep up the starter's workload? And then Landon Roop, again, hopefully he took a step forward on Monday night with the night that he had, because the pitches that he has, the stuff that he has behind him, and that curveball is just too good to ignore. But at the same time, I think you have to wonder at what point, who's going to be the first starting pitcher to kind of get swapped out for Hayden Birdsong in this rotation. My guess is it's not going to be Logan Webb. My guess is that it won't be Jordan Hicks first. That'll come later on in the year. I don't think it'll be Robbie Ray either. So either Landon Roop, maybe the Giants want to kind of curtail his innings a little bit, so they move him to the bullpen, or it could be Justin Verlander, who I think that could be your candidate, shockingly enough, only because, again, at 42 years old, you want to get him through the season. If they put him on again, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm not predicting it happen anytime soon, but I would not be shocked if maybe sometime in May, one of these pitchers gets kind of, an injury of some sort and gets a 10-day IL stint. And that allows the Giants to maybe put Birdsong in the rotation for a couple turns, bring up another arm from AAA, whether it be Tristan Beck, Sean Jelly, Carson Wisenhunt, just to give, guys like Verlander a little break on the arm here. So wrapping things up here, when we had Fleming on today, he brought something up. We were asking about the star power of Jung-Hoo Lee, but he brought up something even better, and that is just what makes this team, I think, very exciting. And just hear what Dave Fleming had to say about this.
Cool thing about what's happening right now for this team, one of the many cool things, is you look around the team, and I don't want to leave anybody out, and I'm not trying to, but even if you just limit it to a few, you got Chapman, you got Adames, you got Logan Webb, you got Jung-Hoo Lee, you got guys who feel like they are anchors for this team now and into the future. And that hasn't really been the case for a while, since Posey retired, really. That to me is a great long-term sign of where this thing is headed.
And where this thing is heading, it's heading to great places. I mean, that is what I think is the most fun about this team, is you are seeing the next great core of Giants players come together. Matt Chapman will be here for several years. Willie Adames will be here for several years. Jung-Hoo Lee's going to be locked in. Logan Webb's going to be locked in. You got guys in the bullpen like Eric Miller, Ryan Walker, hopefully Camilo Doval, who will be anchoring that bullpen for many, many years to come. Tyler Rogers is 34. Hopefully he'll be around for a couple more years. That is what I think is most exciting right now about the start to the season, is just it's being done by future pieces that are going to be around here for a while. You remember in 2021, as fun of a season as that was, the driving forces of that team were Buster Posey, Brandon Belt, and Brandon Crawford. All had great years, but you also knew at the time that there was not a lot of years left in those three. Again, Chapman and Adames and Jung-Hoo Lee, they're going to be here for 4, 5, 6, 7 more years. You were not saying that about Buster and the Brandons in 2021. Love them very much, but you were not saying that about them at the time, because that was just the reality. They're both all three of them were in their mid-30s, and it was just, you knew they were not going to be, what they did in 2021, you knew was not going to be super sustainable for the next 4 or 5 years. So that's what's super encouraging about this, is that you're seeing the foundation, and this is something that Dave Fleming said earlier on the Morning Roast a couple weeks ago. You're seeing the foundation for the next great run at Giants baseball being laid currently before our eyes, and there's still a lot more to come. Again, we're going to see Carson Wisenhunt at some point. Hopefully Marco Luciano and Kyle Harrison, they can bounce back and get their careers going again. And then, of course, there's the Bryce Eldridge experience, where he is in Double-A right now. My guess is we will see him at some point later this season, especially if his bat starts to heat up. So there is a lot of great positive things to be excited for with this Giants team, regardless of where this season goes. Now, I do want to finish off with this final thought here. And this is something that, I was watching the pregame show today. Carlos Ramirez was doing it with Rich Aurilia, and he posted a good question, which is just how do you know a team when a team is good? Especially a team like the Giants getting off to a very surprising 13-6 start that none of us saw coming. It's very easy to wonder if it's real or not. And I ominously sent a tweet out before today's game that, the Giants at 13-5 have not started with a record this good since 2022, which, was not a great year. They finished 81-81 that year, and everyone was in a very bad mood at the end of the season. I don't think this team will fall apart like this 2022 team, but I do think it asks a very valid question as what point do you just make the determination that a team is actually good? Rich Aurilia said that, he was part of that 97 team and it took them half the season to realize how good they were. He was also on that 2003 team and he knew that they were good right off the bat. And you never really know. So for me with this team, when I'll determine if this team is good or not, for me, my benchmark has usually been Memorial Day. Whatever a team is looking like going into that weekend, that is generally speaking what that team will look like for the rest of the year. End of May, early June is kind of when the standings get set for the rest of the year. There's some movement, but for the most part, by end of May, early June, what kind of a team you have. Now, of course, there are always outliers. Everyone loves bringing up the Nationals in 2019, who were 19-31 2 months into the season before storming through the rest of the season, winning the wild card and winning the World Series. The 2010 Giants didn't really become a good team until mid-July. I mean, remember, that was a team that was 41-40 going into the 4th of July weekend. The 2012 Giants, you kind of had a feeling very early that they were going to be a good team. But remember, that was going into that season. A lot of people expected the Diamondbacks to be the team in the NL West that year. And it took about a month or so for everyone to realize that was not going to be the case. The 2014 Giants looked like the best team in baseball midway through May. Remember, they were 42-21 at the midway point of June and looked absolutely unbeatable. And then they spent the next 2.5 months looking like one of the worst teams in baseball before waking up and going on one of the most incredible postseason runs ever. So right now, for me, I want to see this team keep this pace up through this month. And if they're still looking this good middle to end of May, then I think it's hold on to your hats because we got a pretty fun ride ahead of us. So we will get there, though. Eventually, Giants are still 13-6 today. Go 4-3 against the Yankees and Phillies on the road. They will be going to Anaheim this weekend to take on the Los Angeles Angels. Mike Trout looking like Mike Trout again. Hopefully the Giants don't face Kyle Hendricks this weekend. I am going to really quickly take a look at the pitching matchups and see if that is the case. It'll be Logan Webb against Tyler Anderson on Friday. Tyler Anderson 1-0 with a 2.87 ERA. Saturday, it will be, Landon Roop against Kyle Hendricks. So hopefully the Giants can get a hit off of him because the last 2 times Hendricks has faced the Giants, I think he allowed 1 hit in both of those starts. And then on Sunday, it'll be Justin Verlander against Yitzi Kikuchi, 0-3 with a 4.13 ERA. For him to start the season. So Giants going against an Angels team that's 9-8 to start the year. They are not looking like a horrible team, but they're not looking like a great team either. So hopefully the Giants can get the series win this weekend to go 6-4 on this really brutal early 10-game road trip. Will be an incredible accomplishment for this team. And then they'll come home and take on the Brewers. And we will talk about that next week, though. And until then, we will catch you on the next one.